Shall we begin?
Why not? Welcome to Frankie Sense and More. It's like she's got a whole lot of goodness for you with a little bit of sass.
Frankie, did you just say?
She sure did. Not to mention, along with...
Whoops.
Join us now as Frankie Picasso and her new co-host mix it up with authors, musicians, and interviews with world-changing people.
Let's begin, pal.
Okay, let's begin now, because it only makes sense.
Well, hello there, and welcome to Frankie Sense and More. This is so good. I just love it because now I'm visual and I've got two guests here. Normally I do it over the radio and I don't even see them, but now I get to see them and they're so beautiful and it's wonderful. And you get to see them too. So how cool is that? If you're new to Frankie Sense, you may not know that this show is actually loosely based and aligned to the United Nations Global Goals. In 2015, leaders from every country in the world agreed to 17 goals for a better world by 2030. Now, these goals have the power to end poverty, fight inequality, stop climate change. Guided by the goals, it's now up to all of us, governments, business, civil society, and the general public to work together to build a better future for everyone. And my guests today are doing just that. They're both social impact entrepreneurs, or socialpreneurs. They're both authors, radio hosts, and as a bonus in this unplanned coincidence, if you believe in coincidences, they both belong to the Evolutionary Business Council, which means they both are heart-centered leaders, passionate about global change, and their communities. And I know that's true. I'm going to start with Kathryn. Raise your hand. Kathryn Guylay has spent more than 25 years in the business and nonprofit management world as a coach, executive director, management consultant, and CEO. She is an award-winning author of 6 books, which have won 10 awards, and she's currently working on her 7th. Kathryn loves to speak about positive psychology, leadership, publishing, wellness, and entrepreneurship. She's the founder of the nonprofit Nurture, an organization that provides nutrition, education, and support in both Spanish and English to over tens of thousands of children, parents, and today she's the CEO for the Ketchum Innovation Center in Sun Valley, Idaho. And she serves those that seek transformational growth all over the world. And there's so much more to say about her, but we're going to talk to her and let her tell us herself. Beth Bell, wave Beth, she is the flower whisperer. She's an author, international entrepreneur, photographer, radio host, and TV personality whose passion for photographing flowers opened up something unexpected in her and literally changed her world. Beth found she has a gift for channeling messages through Mother Nature. It's a bold move she made, but she left her 15-year career in corporate. She traded in her high heels for flip-flops. The rice fields of Bali is where she makes her new home. And she is on a new mission, pollinating the planet with love. I love that. In 2014, she opened the first retail store for Blossom Bliss Bali. And it's a line of products that are infused with love and the blessing of Balinese artisans from the villages near, I think it's Ubud, is that correct? And today, she has a new philanthropic project, I love this, that her company is supporting to assist Bali in their time of crisis due to their active volcano. And we're going to hear more about this and everything else in just a moment from these two ladies. And I just want to let them know that there's no rules. I'm going to talk to each of you, and if you have questions for one another, feel free to jump in and ask. I'm very excited, Kathryn, with your Nurture. And I'm going to tell you, the folks here, that something very special happened to you. You moved from Chicago to Sun Valley, Idaho, and you decided to enter a contest at the White House. Tell us about that.
Oh, this is such a fun story. So we remember the Obama years, and with Michelle Obama, I hope she's our next female president because she is one of my biggest inspirations, and truly to meet her in person, to have lunch with her, to have a private audience with her was a highlight of my life. So I'll tell you how we got there. So this was when I was knee deep in Nurture and working with children and families and in food pantries, and really working to bring healthy eating to all families all languages, and really all economic statuses. Because I think that people think that to be healthy, to have a healthy diet, that you need to spend a fortune. And so one of the things that we at Nurture really work to overcome were the obstacles to healthy eating, both budget and time. And so we did that through a series of cooking events and giving and gifting slow cookers and rice cookers to families and teaching them how to make really healthy, inexpensive food that actually tastes delicious. And one of the things that we got involved with is food in the school system, because today a lot of the kids that are eating their lunches and sometimes their breakfasts, they're eating frozen foods, they're eating processed foods, and it really comes down to cost. So one of Michelle Obama's initiatives, it was called Let's Move, and it had a lot of different branches to it, but she really wanted to get kids in the kitchen, and she wanted to create recipes that were delicious, that were kid approved, and that could potentially be served in schools and would therefore meet the budget requirements. So my daughter and I, we were, with all of our experience with Nurture, we said, okay, we can do this. So we started experimenting with whole grains. We used quinoa and brown rice. We added salsa. We had cilantro. We had beans. So really great, healthy plant sources of protein. And cottage cheese was like the magic ingredient. We mixed it all together. We baked it, and it's a total hit. I'm happy to share the recipe.
Yeah.
Actually, with you, Frankie, and your guests and our audience today, because I've never met somebody that doesn't like this dish. It's called Fiesta Casserole. So when I heard that Michelle Obama was doing this contest and that she was going to pick one recipe per state, thousands and thousands and thousands of recipes were submitted. And we were so excited when we got that note this one day that we were one of the finalists. So they picked 3 per state, and then the Department of Education and Epicurious and all chefs of all walks and talks came, and they made all of these recipes, and they tasted it and selected one winner per state. So we were flown out to the White House, and we stayed for several days, and we met the president, but we also, and most importantly, met the other ambassadors. And Michelle Obama asked us to go back to our communities. She had given us so much in those days that we had there, and the beautiful reception in the state dining room. And she says, we've given you so much, and it was true. And so in return, we want you to go back to your communities and be the feet on the street that are going to carry the messages to your community about healthy eating. And my daughter and I have taken that so very seriously. We were actually at a school yesterday, and we served just yesterday the Fiesta Casserole recipe to an elementary school here in Sun Valley, and the kids loved it. So that's my story, and it was a highlight.
That's exciting. I think it's interesting to note that sometimes parents think children aren't going to like different foods or foods that have cilantro or bulgur or different things in it, and yet they do. Given the experience and the opportunity, they will try and like things that parents just, I don't like it, so they're not going to like it. Kind of.
Well, Michelle Obama was very smart in knowing that if the kids had choice and they had a role in creating the recipes, that they would actually eat them. And so when I mentioned the state dining room lunch, they served the recipes that the kids all made. And so I looked around the table that I was sitting at, and there were kids from all different states all across the country, and they were just gobbling up this beautiful, healthy food. And it was because they felt that they had choice, that they had a role in it. And I think that that's just the most important lesson for any parents listening, is that it's really about education and choice for kids and getting them involved. Everything from shopping to planning to actual preparation. And believe me, that with each step of the way is the more involved, right. Even growing your own food and the kids harvesting it.
Yeah.
It makes it all so much more likely for them to be part of the meal and enjoy it, instead of going, I'm not going to try that.
I know that you're certified as a nutritionist now, isn't that correct?
That's true. Yes.
And I don't know, I see this on television, and I don't know if it's real or not real, but because my kids are grown now, but I think kids are really body conscious, and they're worried about their weight, and they're worried about the foods that they put in. And, is there a problem, or is it okay? Like, where are they in terms of over worrying about You know what I'm saying, where I'm going with this? Over worrying about their image or just eating healthy and wanting to have that in their homes.
And that's why I think your work, Frankie, is so important, because it's positive media. Because some of what the kids, and especially girls, some of what these eating disorders are actually coming from the media and the polished look and the perfectionism, and then the being so hard on yourself. So one of the things that I emphasize, and the whole nurture program emphasizes, is no shame. And in fact, we never call any food bad. I don't even really talk about food as being junk food or anything. I don't want to be pejorative about food. I don't want to create any shame or bad feelings. And in fact, when I do nutrition lessons, I usually invite people to come to a cooking class, and I just do my nutrition education disguised as a cooking class.
Nice.
And what we do with kids is we talk about foods as being either go foods, the foods that give you energy and you make you run faster, because these are the things that kids care about.
Yeah.
They help them perform on tests and do well in school. And then we talk about slow or slow down foods. And these are the foods that when you eat too much of them, you might get that initial like sugar high, but then, you feel kind of sluggish and you can't run so fast and you don't do well in your tests. And truly, if I were to go into a classroom, which like I say, I do all the time, and I was just in one yesterday, if I were to talk about cardiovascular disease or cancer or this is bad and don't eat that or don't drink that, the kids would completely shut me out. And so and that's important again for listeners, is it's important the way that you talk about things and the messages that you give. It as soon as you start to judge and create shame,
Right.
you're creating a barrier, and it's very difficult to educate anyone through a barrier. So I always keep that very open and talk about foods, and the kids love that. This was I just had visited with the kids of the previous month, and so I said, "Do you guys remember what go foods are?" And they're like, "Yeah, broccoli and protein and beans and nuts." And I said, "Do you guys remember what slow foods are?" And they're like, "Yeah, Lucky Charms and candy and cookies." And so, we're not saying these things are bad. We're just kind of talking about them and saying these are choices that you make. And a lot of the kids in the class, they're athletes. We're in Sun Valley. A lot of them are skiers, and they really do care. But we where you were going with the body image, you want to be careful not to say that this is bad, that this is shameful, or that this is something like that you absolutely can't have, because when something is taboo, then it becomes very intriguing and very enticing.
Exactly.
And so I very much avoid that. I'm cautious.
Beth, your diet must be very different moving from the US to Bali.
It's totally different. And I have to say, Kathryn, I so hope you can come to Bali, because we have the Green School. John Hardy started this amazing school, and they grow all of their own food at the school. They're completely eco-friendly, and the children, they learn so much about where food comes from. And even myself, I'm not vegetarian, but as I see the chickens, like everything is literally farm to table. And when I see chickens being transported and I see pigs being transported, it shifts things. And when you see things growing and you're part of the process, it's really an amazing shift, I think, of the relationship that you have with food. So I love how you're communicating to kids, because it's just a different way of thinking about food, and in a positive way. So I love that.
So do you have rice at every meal? Like, I know that in Thailand, rice is a breakfast food. They have
well, it is. I don't necessarily have rice at every meal, but and I'm also gluten-free, so it's really helpful for me, because there's less spreads and things. But it's very westernized in many respects, and so we have sort of all of the normal foods here that we would probably have in the West. But
what's a typical Balinese meal though? What would that look like?
Rice and vegetables is probably the most typical, because it's the cheapest as well. Okay. Protein is more expensive. So, but or a chicken saute with a peanut sauce is super popular. Their food is good. It's basic, but and we're trying to help educate them on cooking oils, because we have so much incredible coconut oil, and the coconut oil is so great. In fact, even just to make popcorn, coconut oil is so much better than the corn oil. So there are some dietary things that I think that they could change to make their already healthy food supply, better prepared. But it's a great place to have, and there's so much awareness, especially in Ubud, around eating and raw foods and energy that you get from raw foods versus, I like your slow foods.
I like that.
Way of speaking. And so Honestly, it's really hard for me when I leave Bali because of the food. I come back to the restaurants in the US and everything's so processed. It's full of preservatives. And so I commend you, Kathryn, for what you're doing with the schools, because it is such a, I mean, to think that these little bodies are getting all this crap food. We're not supposed to say that. Slow foods, foods that don't optimize their bodies at such a young age, that it seems like it should be like the top of everyone's list because they're our future. But yeah, so I'm glad to hear that you're doing all that you're doing for that.
Beth, you got to tell us about these flowers. tell us your experience with these flowers. When did you start photographing them?
In 2005, I just happened to buy a really nice camera, and I just happened to go on vacation in Hawaii, and it was in the middle of like my super chaotic corporate career, and I wasn't meditating. Like I knew that I should be meditating, but I just, I didn't have time to meditate. And I started taking photographs of flowers really up close because this camera that I bought could focus in. And I just became mesmerized by the whole experience. And I just found that my mind was quieting, and I kept taking photographs. I mean, I would stand there for so long and take photographs. And I just was having an experience, but I didn't really know that at the time. I just enjoyed doing it. And so then I started carrying my camera everywhere I went on even work trips and things, and just kept taking photographs. And then over time, I realized that I was actually getting messages. I like to call them just drop-ins, like thought forms would come to me. And so I realized, oh, okay, there's like more of a relationship that I'm having with the flowers. And then the flowers inspired me to create all the products that I've created. And then ultimately, I left my corporate life. I was living in Singapore and moved to Bali. And that's where everything kind of went on, I don't know, steroids as far as me and the flowers. Because every day when I walk outside here in Bali, there's flowers at my feet just everywhere I go. And, sort of like Hawaii, you'll see, even the men, I love it. They all have little flowers behind their ears. And so the flowers are very much a part of my life, especially here in Bali. But yeah, I still love to photograph them. I love interacting and getting messages with them. And that's all transformed in many different ways.
So, but you say that you became a channel for the flowers. So what are the flowers saying? What are they telling you? Us.
Well, yeah, well, each one has a different message, and it can have a different message at different times. But, I think there's 4 life lessons that I learned from flowers, and I wrote a book, and it's called Flower Power for Pure Love, right? And I'm happy to share if you want to know the 4 life
I'd love
lessons.
to know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, one is let love live. So we're always looking for love outside of ourselves. And it's about really just understanding our own self-love and letting love live in our lives. Details derail. So we're always analyzing, thinking. And the flowers really talk about just going with the flow. And then it's appreciate everything, which I think is a great one, because we know that gratefulness is what helps us manifest everything, right? And then expect nothing. And that one I think is still like the hardest, but because we have think, we're programmed to be very logical in our, but when we're working with the universe, when we're working with energy, we really can't expect something. We have to, put our vision out there and let the universe align it for us. So that's a very, very short way of saying those 4 life lessons. But it's really about flowing and being in your flow, right? So it's still active. It's not a passive thing that we do, but it's active, and it's about with the flowers, with Mother Nature. And I think just harnessing the energy of Mother Nature, which, just to make the link back to you, Kathryn, it's about energy that comes from plants. And I'll tell one funny story. Because I have a radio show as well, and I was interviewing a guest who is a flower alchemist, and she was talking about how, because I can't really access her products here in Bali, and so she was talking about how the shamans years ago would go and sip the dew off of flowers. So I'm also known now as a flower sipper.
Yeah.
I still sometimes, before I sip the moisture off the leaf of the flower, I'll look around. Is anybody looking at me? But I'm sure nobody would care. We're all sort of in the same boat. But yeah, so it is like really having that connection with the energy coming from the flower. And the same with the bees. Like, why do bees go to flowers? I thought, well, the smell, the color, and no, actually it's the energy, the vibration that a flower is giving off that says, I'm ready to be pollinated. And the bee actually gets the vibration through the hairs on its leg. So it's all interconnected. We know that. We know we're connected to source energy. But the flowers for me have just been this incredible divine portal that have helped me understand so much about energy, but also just about life and how to live it and how to be in the flow of love in the universe.
Well, at first I love, you know, I love that whole expression. And I love the idea of pollinating the world with love, because I think that, you know, something that we really need to do. The other thing I really love about the products that you have created, and I want to talk about them a little bit, but the fact that you were reminding us, and that, you know, we need to save the bees, and that is like a really important thing that everybody in the world has to do, because man, without the bees, like, we really are limited and at a great loss, right?
Yeah.
If they're not pollinating, we're not eating, probably, you know, that's where it's going to end up. And, you know, the same that happened with the butterflies and the monarchs to Mexico. I mean, we're losing rapidly some beautiful things in this world, and it's our fault. And you know what? This isn't the legacy I want to leave, and I know that neither of you want to leave that either. So it's kind of important. There is a synergy that the two of you have also, and that's with the mantras, because in your jewelry you have mantras, and Kathryn, in your book with the mountains you have mantras. I guess you got mountains in Bali too, really, but you got the ocean and the mountains, and you've got the mountains in Idaho. But mantras are important. What do they? Whoever wants to go. What's important about a mantra, and what's your favorite? Or does it change over time?
Well, I can just jump in because there's another synergy, and Beth was just talking about the flowers and the energy and the vibration. And I have to say, you know, so one of the things that is so effective with kids, and we'll get to mantras, and maybe this is a mantra, and that is to eat a rainbow.
Yeah.
And I tell the kids, because again, sometimes I work with like really little ones, and you know, they can only do a few things in the kitchen. You certainly don't want to have, you know, a 4-year-old with a knife if you're in a group. But they can snip, you know, herbs in a cup. They can snip it, and then the fragrances come off, and then they can get really involved. But what I talk about with the rainbow, and maybe that's the mantra I'd love to connect all this with, is that every color of the rainbow actually helps your body. And Mother Nature, just the way that she creates the flowers, and she creates the bees that spread the love or spread the energy, the colors were created, and they're created to attract us. And we're not just supposed to be attracted to red, which happens to be very good for our cardiovascular system. Right. We're not supposed to be just attracted to blue, which is, you know, heavy with antioxidants and, you know, anti-cancerous agents. And we're not just supposed to be attracted to orange and yellow, which is good for our immunity system and our skin and hair and things like that. So what I tell the kids, and again, they don't care about vitamin A and C and vitamin D and rickets like that. That's just not on their radar screen. But rainbows are so easy to communicate. And again, it's about the energy, and then the food, and the fresher the food, the better. So it's funny, Beth, because I wrote a book called Give It a Go, Eat a Rainbow for kids. And then I started to go around the country, and I'm a big fan of Alice Waters, who's part of that whole farm to table movement. And I went and I did a program with Chef Ann Cooper, who's in Boulder, and she's done some incredible work with gardens and getting freshly prepared foods in front of the kids at school. And so I did a rainbow event with them. And I noticed from some of the kids, because again, it's about energy and the fact that flowers and foods that we eat, if they're fresh, they do have energy. And the colors that we get from artificial colors have no energy, and they're very damaging. They're actually neurotoxins. Mm-hmm. So there's this little aha moment that I had where I was teaching kids to eat a rainbow, but then some of these little sneaky kids would say, well, I'm going to get mine in the form of Skittles and Lucky Charms. And I went, oh no. So the sequel to the book is where does a rainbow grow is what it's called. And it comes from Mother Earth, and it's about plant identification. So instead of just walking through the colors, it's about what does a strawberry look like on the plant? What does a raspberry look like on the plant? And I think just getting kids exposed to that and understanding it, and they can feel just like a bee. They can feel that that's the energy that they get, which you certainly don't get from the artificial ingredients. So I guess that would be my mantra, would be to eat a rainbow.
You know, kids are so excited by farms and animals and plants and where things come from. Talk about, I didn't know that avocados grew on a tree. Like I just saw this in Mexico and I'm like, oh my God, they actually grow on a tree. For some reason, I don't know. I thought it was a plant came out of the ground and, but it's interesting, like, where all these things and how they grow. And sometimes you look at things like a coconut even, and you go, why would somebody open that? Like what would make them open that and go, like, there's a lot of in the dragon fruit and all these really interesting things that could be toxic, maybe not, but people eat, and it is very interesting. But talk about flowers. There's a lot of the chefs now are cooking or presenting meals with edible flowers. Do they do that?
Yeah, no, they do, and I have a hard time eating them sometimes. But now I've shifted my mindset around it, and because of the relationship that I have, it's okay to eat them because they want you to, just like a
be
plant,
nourished.
It wants to be nourished. We know that it's the cycle of life. So yeah, flowers are great. I think one of the mantras that I really love, I mean, there's so many, and I do these little mini mantra word bar necklaces. And one of them is live life in love with everything bliss. And it was very much inspired by the Balinese. And speaking of food and kids being curious about where it comes from,
Oh, she'll come back in a minute.
Oh, she's so far away. I'm so glad she answered that whole thing about can she eat flowers, because I was so concerned. I was sitting here thinking, I love
Please feel free
nasturtiums
to
and
ask
salad.
me questions. No, feel free to ask me other questions.
Or
And the
like a
necklaces-
squash blossom.
Oh yeah, they're beautiful and they're delicious, aren't they? And her necklaces are 3D, which because each side has a saying on it, which is really beautiful. I hope she can come back. But you, when she comes back, we'll talk to her. But you also have talk about making things fun. You have Make Everything Fun. that's your new project. Make everything fun. We have
and it's funny.
All fun all the time.
I know, and I don't expect people to have fun when they're. I mean, I'm just looking out right now. We have all the snow, and there's somebody over there that looks like they're not having very much fun shoveling snow.
Yes.
So I'm not saying everything has to be fun, but the things that you spend a lot of time on. So there are sort of 4 pillars that I have under Make Everything Fun. One is publishing, one is wellness, one is nutrition, and one is entrepreneurship. So it's make nutrition fun, make wellness fun, make entrepreneurship fun, and publishing, these are things that you're going to spend a lot of time on.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I deal a lot myself with burnout, or I have in the past, and I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs that have burnout, and certainly people that are trying diets, and then that's the yo-yo thing. And so if the way I look at it is, if you're going to spend time, a significant amount of time on any one thing, you really need to make that thing fun. It's the only way to avoid burnout.
Yeah, no kidding. So the 4 pillars, do they come from the things that you enjoy doing? Is that where they come from, or what most of your clients enjoy doing?
That's so funny, because I used to be, so I was a management consultant. I was in business for many, many years, rose through the ranks of consultant to senior consultant to unit manager, and finally principal. And that was probably the most burned out I ever felt in life. So to me, I love entrepreneurship, but then I went into that direction of nurture and wellness and nutrition. So those were sort of my passions. But I will tell you that the publishing thing is something that I like, but I'm understanding from so many people that I work with, my clients, my contacts at the Ketchum Innovation Center, people that I encounter, 80% of the population supposedly wants to write a book. And so that is a really important piece of the market. And I've heard so many sad stories about people having really difficult or very painful experiences in the publishing journey, whether that's signing a contract that didn't work out.
Too much money.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I had a woman who was in a mastermind with me, and she had declared bankruptcy because she kept throwing more and more money after this book project. So being, light workers like we are, I sort of said, okay, I'm going to take this and I'm going to apply my management consulting experience to this. And I'm going to figure out where are the pains coming from, and hopefully allow people to avoid those pain points. So then I started Make Publishing Fun, and there's a ton of free resources at that site. And I did a survey, which is free. We can give it to your listeners through a link. And I surveyed people in the traditional publishing industry, so people, authors that had published traditionally, and then those that had self-published, and then those that had done the hybrid model, which is really more of a publishing services model.
Yeah.
And I surveyed them about everything from their happiness factor to costs, how much did they spend, how many books did they sell, and it was a really in-depth undertaking, but I learned so much, and I give these results away to people so that they can avoid the mistakes. Interestingly, the happiest group was the self-published group.
Yeah. I'm not surprised by that, really. There she is. We're just talking about self-publishing versus publishing. Did you self-publish your book, or did you find a publisher, Beth?
Okay, wait, I'm back. Can
You are
hear
back.
me?
Yay!
Yeah.
And a big coconut just fell out of my tree in the background. So, sorry, you were asking me if I self-published?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I felt like it was probably the best way, and I haven't actually officially launched it in the United States, but I plan to do that in the springtime. But it is available on Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah, I did the hybrid, the first one, and then the second and third I self-published, and really, and I can see why you went with that, Kathryn, because it is happier. People, when you self-publish, I don't know if they realize that you can still be picked up by a traditional publisher if you sell enough or people get interested in it. But why wait for somebody to go, yeah, it's great. They get so many manuscripts, like, it's 1 in a million that are going to really pass over somebody's desk and go. Like, I know people right now who are waiting for someone to say, hey, I'll give you, $50,000. Give me your thing. You know what? Few and far between. So self-publish it, get your book out there, get your word out there. And at least if you're speaking, you got a book at the back of the room. You got something to give people, and it gives you some credibility, right?
Absolutely. And I've been through the different models as well. I've been through the traditional. I haven't really done the hybrid model as much, but I have sort of a whole stable of people that I rely on. I mean, self-publishing is anything but self. You need a whole team. You need your editors. You might need multi-level editors. You need your proofreaders. You need your interior designers. You need your cover designers. I mean, it really is. It can't, I really think it should be fun.
Yeah.
So you find the people that you love, that you connect with, that help you, that lift you up. And it can be I actually think the process of writing can be so healing. And I'll quote Michael Hyatt, who says that thoughts disentangle as they pass through lips and fingertips. So for so many people that I've coached and I've worked with and I've helped with their publishing journey, the process itself can be cathartic. It can be healing. It can be very helpful to crystallize complex ideas so that you can say, oh my gosh, now I could do a course on this, or workshops are so much easier. So I think people think about, oh, the book is about being an author. It's actually about what happens after the book and how it changes your life and how you can change the world with a book. So I think you can really make publishing fun.
I agree. And I agree with your statement about it being cathartic. I just finished an anthology with 21 women that I led through a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Intimate book. And every single one lit up professionally after they finished. It was like they had gotten rid of all the stuff that held them back in life. Gone.
So important.
So amazing. Yeah, I love it. I love it. And Beth, do you write the mantras on your necklaces? Are you the one that comes up with all of that?
I do, yeah. Well, I feel like it's a co-creation with the flowers, but yeah, I do it. It's a co-creation really with just whatever
Where you live.
Yeah, and what I was referring to just before I cut out was the rice field workers, and just how beautiful the Balinese are, and what empowered hearts they have. I mean, I thought I was coming to Bali to pass through for 3 months and get production and quality under control, and then export everything to the US and come back to the US, and then the magic of Bali just drew me in. So it really is the Balinese that drive me to make these necklaces, because they put and infuse love into each piece. And so that was really important to me when I was looking for a place to actually make the pieces. But yeah, I do the mantras, and then I work really closely with our Balinese artisans.
The artisans. And I'm interested with the artisans that you work with. Are these historically like their fathers of the father of the father were silver workers, or?
Well, that's a great question. It's a father-son team. I don't know about the father's father, so I'm not sure, but I will ask that because now I'm curious. But The father is actually really well known in his village as a healer, and people come to their
Oh,
temple to
nice.
healing. So yeah, and they employ women within their village, and so it's just a really nice, a nice place because it's not even a manufacturing center. Because Bali is known for its silver, and I don't even do it at a big manufacturing center. The necklaces are literally done in family compounds in a small little village near Ubud here.
I love that. And so as a healer, are they praying over this before they start or as they're doing it to infuse it, or are you infusing it? Who's doing the infusing?
Yeah, you're making me think I really want to, I have to put this out on Facebook, but one day I was sitting with my guy and we were going to do a larger order that we were sending out. And I said, now don't forget to bless the bars. And he just looked at me and he said, Beth, every day I work on the necklaces. He said, I pray for good thinking, for good energy, for customer to be happy. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I said, 1 second, I hit record on my phone, and he just said everything that every reason why I'm here. And I just thought, wow, I couldn't have scripted that. So he every day he says, I pray for your business every day. I pray to the gods for good for everyone. It's just amazing. I mean, they're just so community oriented. And maybe if I can jump in and just talk about sort of the sad part of that right now, because
Yes.
I know you have mountains over there, Kathryn, but we have a massive mountain, which is a volcano, and it became active in September. Now, the media has, as they normally do, and it's sort of their job, created a lot of drama around the volcano, and we did think that it might have a mass eruption. And with this type of volcano, it's like a Mount St. Helens volcano, and so it does have potential to be quite devastating, but it also has potential to never actually erupt in any massive way. It's had some small little eruptions, and the media has just created havoc with it, and we have zero tourism almost. I shouldn't say zero. It's come back a little bit, and it's slowly, but it's created a lot of fear. And what's so hard is that the energy from this volcano is so incredibly transformational. I mean, there couldn't be a better time in many respects to come here. I can't sit here and tell you that it's safe, but then I go, well, what's safe? Is being in Southern California with wildfires and mudslides, is being in, a concert in Las Vegas, is being in a small church in Texas, is being in a Christmas market in Berlin when a truck drives, what is safe? And I think one of the things we can do here is prepare. So we do have face masks, and we do have, if in fact it should go off. But what's happening is because of this, I feel like, especially as a Westerner living here, we've done so much to bring tourism to their island, really. I mean, for me, Eat, Pray, Love is has catapulted a ton of Americans to come here, which is not necessarily bad, but it's definitely taken a lot from the island. And it's made the Balinese respond to tourism. So what have they done? They've built their entire financial foundation based on tourism. So now that the floor's fallen out, people don't have jobs. People are getting laid off. I mean, their salaries are $150 to $200 a month. So if they're getting half time, what can you do with half of that? They're not really in a mentality of saving money here. So it's interesting. There's this incredibly blissful transformational time, and yet we're going through mass chaos, and we've had no eruption. Mass chaos just in the sense of financial, right? That the floor has really fallen out of tour. So I really wanted to see what could I do to give back. And then yoga one day, which has this incredible view of the volcano, which is fabulous in and of itself to connect through yoga and the energy. The two words, gratefulness and compassion, came to me. And afterwards I said, okay, what can I do? I have a business, I employ Balinese, and I want to give back more. And so I'm doing a heartfelt philanthropic campaign to give money back to the Balinese. We want to give 15 million back, but we also have a sales goal of 1,000 by the end of January. And so we're putting the message out to help us to reach our goal and to help give money back. And I hope to continue to just give money back and give money back. So it's sort of a two-way thing. It employs if you could see when I give him an order, he's just like, thank you for the job. So grateful, so, heartfelt. And so I want to continue, I want to continue to run my business here in Bali and continue to give them jobs. but also give more money back, because there's some really incredible nonprofits, Boomy Sihat, Copernic, that are helping the Balinese, but also the evacuees. We had over 70,000 evacuees, and I think they've got the number down to about 50 now. So there's just a lot of a lot of interesting times right now, transformational, and everything happens in divine timing. So I think there is, karma, and things will sort of adjust. And so in many ways, there's a positive side of this that will bring some balance back. But boy, right now in the middle of it all, when people are really struggling to put food on the table, and it's a tough time here.
It's really great that you're talking about that, because I think, we as Westerners, we tend to live a very blessed life here, and we don't always remember the people, because you don't, if people aren't with you, you don't always think about them, but just how little other people live on, and really, and what it takes to work with your hands, and to not be employed by a big company, and not have a regular paycheck, and not know where your next meal is coming from, and please, under the video on Facebook, put the necklaces, put the a link to them, because they're beautiful. I love it, and I think they're beautiful, and they have so many different purposes, and who wouldn't want it? And you've also got a gorgeous kit that comes with, a candle and incense, so that if you want to do you have one there you can hold up?
Yeah. I'm happy to show you. So it's called the Personal Intention Activation Ceremony Kit. So the Balinese are all about ceremonies, so I've definitely taken that on from them, and ceremony is just important. You're not going to be able to read this, so I'm going to tell you what it says, but there's 3 steps to the process. It's set, say, and see your intention. So we know intentions are very, very important. The little kit, I try not to dump everything out.
Beautiful candle.
Yeah, it has a incense holder, and then there's some incense. And so what you do is you light the incense, and then you start journaling what makes me happy. And I cannot tell you how many people cannot write freely what makes them happy. They are very confused on that. So you start writing what makes me happy. You come up with 1 to 2 words that you want to set as your intention. We have these beautiful candles. This is a little lotus flower candle. And then on the bottom of the candle, you write what your intention is. So my intention.
Love that.
So then you burn it. Then you say your intention along with your mantra, whichever mini mantra word bar necklace that you've chosen. So you say it 3 times or more, and then you see it in your mind's eye or your imagination as though it's already blossomed, and then you let the universe do the rest. And so you've infused your intention into your mini mantra word bar necklace, and it's really just an incredibly helpful symbol to wear the high vibrational words close to your heart, but also to just bring it back every day. You don't have to do the ceremony every day. You can do this if you want. You can refresh and do it once a week or once a month, but it really does hold the vibration of not only the Balinese energy and the Balinese bliss, but whatever your intention is with the universe. So it's a fun gift too. And surprisingly, I found so many men are buying this. So they're
very cool.
They're understanding that they can get.
Oh, she froze on us again. However, I wanted to say, oh no, there you are. But I wanted to say that on I think it's January 29th and January 30th with the super moon, which is the first that we've had in 150 years. This is the time to release the things you don't want in your life, and as it wanes and it's it's coming back, do your intention, because that's the time when the moon will help you get the things that you want to bring into your life. So what a very special time we're coming into right now, and perfect for you to sell as many as you can, as many kits before the end of the month, to give to the Balinese, to tourism, and because of the volcano, and so very exciting. Yeah, Kathryn, you sit on many boards. It's not just the nurture. I mean, you are really involved in community service, as is Beth. Tell us a little bit about some of the other organizations you sit with.
Well, I've always been involved with hunger relief. And so in Chicago, actually, that's how Nurture was born. I was a volunteer at the local food pantry. Sorry?
I said, that's right. You were from Chicago originally.
Yes. And I'm also involved with the local food relief program here. But so Nurture was born because I was one of the very few people that was doing the food distributions that spoke Spanish. And so when the Hispanic families would come in, they would talk to me and I would ask them how they were doing. And most of the time I heard that they were very tired and that some chronic disease issues were starting to come up. And then I looked down into the bags that we were giving them. And I thought to myself, this isn't helping. By giving processed food, canned food, expired food.
Yeah.
I remember there was a big grocery store chain in Chicago, and their frozen mechanical stuff kind of went on the fritz, and so they gave all their leftover frozen stuff. And so remember that was it was like giving away lots of processed frozen pizzas and things like that. So I think a lot of times there's two really important reasons. There's many important reasons, but I'll talk about two important reasons. One, to get involved and to help others. One is that just the act of doing things for other people and helping other people. I mean, we all believe in karma, and that's very cool. Orphans, and there have been studies shown that you live longer and you have a higher happiness set point if you volunteer. So it's something that I think everybody should do. But the second thing is that by actually being in the field, so to say, and understanding. So Beth, she's right there with the community. She can see the need. When you sit back and you don't get involved, you don't understand what the pain in the world is. And then you therefore don't have the ability to become an agent of change. And I know that the Evolutionary Business Council that's what we're all about. We're all agents of change. And most of us come here because we have some exposure to the needs in the world. And so if we all were just to sit in an office or to be, in a, upscale suburban neighborhood that we never left, then we wouldn't understand the needs. So I think that's another really important reason to get involved and to stay involved and to just find that passion that lights up when you help others.
I'm so glad you said that about the food bank, because that is one of my pet peeves is, I don't want them to have white bread and macaroni and cheese. And, there has to be a fresh food bank. There has to be, fresh vegetables. And I love that France last year, went to the grocery stores are not allowed to throw away the produce. They have to give it away to the food banks. They have to give it away to the shelters. That's what we need to do here. And I've had a number of shows on food and ugly fruit, the ugly fruit.
I love ugly fruit and veg.
Yeah.
Jordan. Yeah.
Jordan is awesome.
Great.
Yeah. Very funny stuff comes out of that. And you know what? So what if it's ugly? Eat it. And
it's more fun.
It's more fun. What shapes do you? It's like looking at clouds, right?
Well,
exactly.
To add something in here, just as an interesting note, the Balinese, we as Westerners love to go to the local food markets, right?
Yeah.
Where they literally bring everything, and they look at that as poor. So they think that going to the grocery store and buying stuff in plastic means that they are
wealthy,
rich, right?
Wow.
And I just look at it, and go, oh my goodness, what are we doing as Westerners to these islands?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
I think the big food companies are doing an overly good job at marketing, and that's too bad. I mean, that's the thing. I do teach a lesson about marketing, and I teach kids that, McDonald's and the whole fast food industry has so much money, billions of dollars to spend on advertising. And then I talk about farmers, and I say, how much do you think farmers have to spend on advertising? And then the kids get really interested, and kids don't like to get tricked. They don't like to be fooled. Yeah. So when I show them, an ad, like we actually decipher them, and I say, what do you think that they're trying to get you to do? Let's look at this, the frosted cereal, this, that, and the eyes are swirling on the kids, and they're like, wow, it's so manipulative. And then there's this really cute, listeners can Google it, there's a really cute ad that a bunch of carrot farmers put on, and it's called Extreme Baby Carrot ad, and you can just Google extreme, or YouTube extreme baby carrot. I don't know exactly what the budget was, but it was not enough to get it on TV. However, they got it on YouTube, and I show that to all the kids, and it's fun and it's hip. And here's the great part: I always follow it up with I serve baby carrots after, and the teachers always say, like, sometimes they'll show it every couple of weeks, because like there'll be like a big boom in carrot consumption right after. So marketing works, and
Marketing does work.
And the Center for Science in the Public Interest has done something with beverages, with sugary beverages, with soda beverages, and they're trying to get people to drink water. Now, again, how much does water have as a budget? Coming water out of the tap doesn't really have a lot of a marketing budget behind it. But the Center for Science in the Public Interest did a really fun campaign called Pour It Out, and it was promoting water and trying to get people to drink less soda. And I always show that ad too, and listeners can just look it up. It's just Pour It Out. And it's a campaign by the Center for Science in the Public Interest. And when I show it to kids, they like leave the classroom like singing the song and stuff, and then they drink more water.
That's really
So
good.
I think it's about marketing.
You know, talking about the farmers, my sister-in-law actually has a dairy farm in Idaho. And yeah, and you know, the milk is they don't make a lot of money. You know, they overcharge, the government doesn't want to pay farmers money. And I don't understand. It's like babysitters to me. It's like you're leaving somebody with your most precious cargo, right? And you don't want to pay them more than 25 cents? Are you kidding me? So the same with farmers. Like without the farmers, we have no food. It's a tough life. Who wants to go out there in the blizzard and feed the cows and do the thing? And, you know, very few people. So I don't understand why they are so underserved and underpaid. Like, I don't get it. You know,
I know it's a messed up subsidies. One of my favorite farmers is Joel Salatin. I think they call him the lunatic farmer or something. And he's all about, you know, the like Beth was saying, you know, the chickens poop and they fertilize the soil and then they grow the stuff and then you compost that, and it's all this system. And so he's called a lunatic farmer, but what he's really doing is he's using age-old, effective, sustainable agricultural practices, and I just love it. So Joel Salatin is one of my faves.
You know, Beth, going back to the grocery store, I remember what my oldest son used to say, "What kind of chicken is that?" Because to him it was all chicken. You know, the beef, it's all in a wrap, it's all plastic. What kind is that, right? What kind am I eating? You know, that's beef chicken today. You know? But you know, when they finally saw the animals, like, oh, I don't like that. You know, I don't want to eat that. Because then the connection comes, the real connection, and you get to think about food, right? When you see it grow, when you see the animal walk, when you see things, it's a different connection than plastic in a supermarket.
Yes, absolutely.
Why don't you Beth, why don't you give out your web address, and then Kathryn, we're going to get yours. I want to make sure everything's out there for you ladies.
Yeah, well, you can go to blossomblissbali.com and you'll see products. You can also go to bethbell.me and there's a fun video. You'll see my neighborhood and the rice fields, and you'll meet my Bali dog, Lily. She's adorable. And also you can follow me on Instagram.
Hope that comes out. Her Instagram is at Queen Bliss B. Sorry, you froze. I can just re-say it. At queenbliss.b. Or click at Queen Bliss B. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Queen Bliss B. Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And Kathryn?
So my website is makeeverythingfun.com, and that's kind of a portal. It goes to the 4 other areas that we talked about: publishing, wellness, nutrition, and entrepreneurship. And also makeeverythingfun.com has all of my links to the social media. But what I'm going to do for listeners is I'm going to create a special link at makeeverythingfun.com/Frankie. And I'll put, you know, we talked about that author survey and how it really helps people to avoid the money pit and have more fun. I'll put that up on that site so that people can download that survey. Since we talked about it, I hate to leave people hanging, and that will kind of get people some information if they're interested, if they're one of the 80% of the people that want to get a book out.
You know, and if you ever need anybody to help somebody write a book, I'm there, because I love helping people write their books. I think it's, you know, I got a really fun, easy formula for it, and I think everybody should write a book. I really do.
I do too.
You were trained with Marcy Shimoff, Happy for No Reason. Marcy was on my show many years ago, just after her book came out. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, I love Marcy. Marcy actually endorsed, she was the cover endorsement of my most recent book, which is Make Nutrition Fun. And she's a light in my life and a mentor and friend. And she was the one actually she introduced me to Carol Klein, who helped me to do a course. That's another Make Publishing Fun course. But Marcy, yeah, her Happy for No Reason work, her Love for No Reason work, it's life-changing. So if listeners have not picked up those books, run out and get them right now, because she can teach you how you can actually raise your happiness point. There's sort of, they say it's a set point, but she interviewed over 100 people, the happiest people on the planet, and really has some incredible takeaways and lessons, actionable lessons that we can apply to be happier.
I love
and then therefore healthier.
Yeah, I love that. And Beth, it's more than jewelry. You've got your beautiful photographs, you've got the journal, you've got other products on your website. So definitely people go and visit Beth's website. It's stunning and beautiful. And save the bees, save the Balinese people from the volcano.
One of the things that is the flower affirmation card. So there's actually a card deck where you can pull a card and there's a truth and an affirmation. And when people walk into the shop in Bali, we just automatically give them a little reading. And 90% of the people say, oh my goodness, this was exactly what I was thinking, or this is what I was just focused on. So they're a really fun gift idea as well, but a nice, interaction with the flowers to pull the cards. And then of course the book, Flower of Power for Pure Love.
Have you run into Robert Redford yet, Kathryn?
No.
Well, we have a lot of celebrities in town. I run into celebrities a lot here.
Nice.
Reese Witherspoon was just in town.
Does she? Nice.
And Gwynnie is coming.
Oh, really? Nice. Awesome. Yeah. Well, I'd like to thank both of you for coming on the show today. And I'm sorry about the connections a little bit, but you persevered, and I love that, because I'm the unstoppable. And so we're not going to let that hold that against us, are we? But lovely to have both of you. And I just love what you're both doing. I love that you have social impact on your radar, because that's what I'm all about. And I hope that people will go and look at the global goals if you haven't looked at them at globalgoals.com, and just see what those 17 goals are that every country in the world, believe it, how did they ever do that? Every country in the world agreed to do. So I think maybe one. There's 192 countries agreed. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, Frankie, thank you for having us. You're amazing. And thanks for everything you do to spread all these great messages. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to stay with me as we come out of Facebook. Goodbye, everybody on Facebook. Stop that.
Namaste.
And I'm just going to stop.